no way. I'm already still burning. So hold me close, now baby. I do what I'm told, still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line, yeah. You got me shifting the paradigm, no longer wishing. You're my lucky strike, love the way you ride. Look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice, act like you surprised, but you already know. Oh yeah, got lucky overnight. Jackpot when I got the invite. Let me wrap my arms around you, cause I can't go home without you. And my heart just vibe with you, babe. Wanna go sky high with you, babe. Gotta bring you close to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. Cooler than cold, I'm all in. So load up the dice, so heavy. The way that you roll, I'm falling. So I never fall, I'm ready to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line, yeah. You got me shifting the paradigm, no longer wishing. You're my lucky strike, yeah. Love the way you ride. Look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice, yeah. Act like you surprised, but you already know. You're my lucky strike, and I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. I can't let you go, there's no way. I'm all
All right, folks. Well, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune. It's time for another week of the Rec Poker Podcast. We are signing up for episode 589, if you can believe it. We're going to be talking to Mikha Richards in just a moment. First, I got to let you know a few things about the show. This is the Chats edition, where we talk to poker luminaries around the world every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, live on YouTube. You can show up for free and win a prize just for showing up. We also do a forums edition every week, just talking strategy. I'm your host, Bluff Sterini in the home game, and at Rec Poker Jim on the hellscape we call Twitter. I'm Jim Reed to my friends, and I have the best freaking job in the world, hanging out here on Monday night, chatting poker with my buddies on the Rec Poker Podcast. So thanks for joining us. We're going to talk to Mikha in just a sec, but I have to first mention that we are brought to you by the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. They are the official sponsor of the Rec Poker Podcast, and you can find out more about them at runaces.com. And they're really important because most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization. So we really depend on the support of our sponsors and our premium members who kick in $15 a month to help make all the magic happen here at Rec Poker. We're so grateful for their support. And if you want to support Rec Poker without spending a dime, you can go to rec.poker/support and you'll find some excellent suggestions on how to help us along and some ways you can also buy us a cup of coffee. And if you also want to support some individual Wrecking Crew members, you can go to rec.poker/staking and see which Wrecking Crew members have a little package together that you can come along for the ride with. So that's just a little bit about what's going on over here. We are a free community. Come join up for free. All it takes is an email address and a smile. And if you want to take your membership to the next level and get more involved in the training elements that happen here at Rec Poker, you can get your first month for only $5 by using the code RecPoker. All right, now, They let me host the show on Monday, so you get used to hearing my voice, but I am just one man, and it takes a gang to make the magic happen over here. We call this group of wizards the Wrecking Crew. And if you want to find out more about me and the rest of the Wrecking Crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew, but you can also just listen up because you're going to meet a few of them right here tonight on the show, starting with our interim producing co-host, John Somsky.
My name is John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN Everywhere, and when you can't find a good co-host, you find me. I also run our home games for the Rec Poker home games.
I'm Kim Kilroy. I'm PetVet or PetVet33 on the social platforms, Fergie56 in the home game, and I have a hand history review that we do usually once a month on the second Wednesday.
Right on. Just a couple of the Wrecking Crew members. And like I say, if you want to see some of the other fantastic folks involved in the leadership group here at Rec Poker, just head to rec.poker/crew. All right. So, Mikha, we first met at a players party that the WPT was putting on in December for the Win Series. And I think we just sort of like struck up a conversation, had some friends in common, and said, oh, like this is someone I want to stay in touch with. Don't let me put you in a box, so I'm going to ask you the same question I ask all our guests right off the bat. How would you define your own role in the poker world? If our listeners don't know who you are, who is this Mikha Richards character?
Thanks, Jim. And the feeling's very much mutual. I just remember having like a super long conversation with you and actually feeling like, man, this guy's pretty important. He probably wants to mingle with all these other people. So I'm really glad like our paths have crossed multiple times again. It's pretty great. But who am I? I'm Mikha. I currently live in Cleveland, Ohio, and I've been a professional poker player for the past 2 years. I kind of play a potpourri role in the poker community, not very well known, but hopefully helping a lot of individuals throughout their path and following their dreams or getting better at poker. So I am a Team 100K, which is a recreational and professional poker organization that helps individuals grow their game through strategy, but also the mental game. So I'm a team pro for them and really love that community that I'm a part of. And then I'm also an active member of Pocket Queens. I was just promoted to the title Sage in their server, which is totally made up. But
that sounds very cool, though. Sounds very cool.
Yes, exactly. And how that came about is probably about 9 months ago, they asked for volunteers to volunteer for different committees that they were starting because it's a completely free organization, Pocket Queens. And I volunteered for either the quantitative side of it because I have a background in data analytics, or the coaching side of it because I was a leader in my past career. And they put me in the coaching. And right off the bat, I'm like, there's no mentorship in poker. And there's a little bit, but it's something that's in a lot of other fields that's really utilized because it's successful. It helps people grow. It helps especially individuals who are more introverted be able to connect with others that they might have not normally been able to connect with. So I recommended it, and I'm a little OCD. I created like a whole checklist. I thought like, I'm gonna need to market it to these ladies. Like, here's the why you need to do this. And like, I pitched the idea, and like right off the bat, they're like, yeah, sure. Like, go ahead, create whatever you want to create. And like, I drafted a pilot program for it, and it's almost to the end of that program. And so I play poker professionally, and I also just like helping out here and there around the communities that I've been introduced to.
That's awesome. So I've got a whole bunch of questions to just taking off from there. I'll remind our Wrecking Crew members, just unmute if you have a question for Mikha. And if you're in the YouTube chat, just type any questions that you have for Mikha, and I'll make sure that we ask them here. Also, I see Martha is back in the YouTube chat. So hi, Mom. Sorry you were having trouble connecting to YouTube for the last few weeks, but I'm super glad to see you back in the YouTube chat. I hope you have a fun time tonight. Also, to the YouTube chatters as well, stick around to the end of the show. We're going to be doing a giveaway. We always do a raffle at the end of the show to help support a local food bank, and you can win some great prizes just for sticking around and typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat. We're also going to be playing Stake Study Stack with Mikha at the end of the episode. So please suggest some famous poker players' names that we can put Mikha in an uncomfortable position trying to categorize. That's going to be a lot of fun. And if you are one of those super shiny, fancy people that can donate or support programs through YouTube, we actually have a super chat ability here now. We've made it, gang. And if anyone makes a donation through a super chat to the Rec Poker Podcast, we will share a portion of that donation with a local food bank. So please stay active in the YouTube chat, stick around, win a prize, and all sorts of fun stuff coming up with that. Okay, Mikha, I want to talk about 100K. I want to talk about Pocket Queens, the mentorship program. But let's go back a little bit further. You talked about being sort of a leadership position in your previous career. What were you doing before you made the switch to poker professional?
I spent 9 years with a pretty big insurance company and working my way up the ladder to eventually lead really intelligent individuals who were coders and analysts and process gurus.
Cool. And so working with people, kind of getting the best out of them, getting the most out of them is a skill, you'd say?
I think my skill comes from genuinely listening to people. Kind of answering the questions that they don't even know that they have, and being able to identify, you might not know that this is something that you need to work on, but just hearing the language or the body, and just watching some of the things that they've done, helping direct them in a better fashion.
Awesome. And you were kind of mentioning, you got right into that with Poker Queens in this mentorship program. Tell us a little bit about that program. So how many mentees, signed up, and what was the process like sort of deciding who they were going to work with, and just talk a little bit, because that seems like a pretty ambitious project. Talk to us a little bit about how that came together.
Yeah, so I expected maybe 6 people to participate. I called it a pilot. I really wanted to just run it from December to June, pilot 6 women going through this program, see where they're at the end, do some surveys, and then maybe have a full scale run of it come August or the next iteration. And I worked with the board members to create a survey for individuals who are interested. And it just sparked like a fire. And by the time I knew it, I think I had the survey open for about 2 weeks. 30 women had signed up to look for mentorship. And I didn't really want to turn people away. So I felt confident in my abilities and I've been in mentorship programs before. I've been a mentor before. So I thought I could actually probably facilitate this and make it work. So I kind of started, and thank God for these mentors, I started just DMing people. You're one of those people. And just showing up and being like, hey, here's this program that I'm running. It's through Pocket Queens. Here's the details, and created a roadmap of what it would entail. And got interest from, I believe, about 16 mentors to mentor these 30 women. And there was actually 2 men that signed up to look for mentorship. And at the time, I hope that mentorship can actually be utilized in every community that exists. I think there's a lot of benefits. But right now, we're taking only Pocket Queens members.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's been fun being a part of it, as you kind of alluded to there. And I think it's definitely, you mentioned right at the top, like mentorship is important in every industry. I think particularly in a field like poker, where there isn't really like a diploma you can get, like there isn't really like the accreditation is very strange in a field like poker. And so having some people that are willing to share their experience with less experienced players and kind of show them, shine a light on the path ahead, I think is really the best way to say it. You can really accelerate their learning and make them feel more comfortable. Are there specific goals for the program?
Yes. And I'm going to touch base really quick on the other thing you mentioned is how did the matching portion of the program work?
Yes.
And it actually took quite a while. So we asked particular questions on both the mentor and mentee survey responses. So where are you at in your skills today? Tell me about them. So really probing open-ended questions. And I went through each and every single one of the responses and kind of ranked like, okay, this energy, and it's a survey, right? Like it's a piece of paper. I'm not meeting a lot of these people in person, so I could have completely missed the mark. And some of them, I've gotten feedback, I might have missed the mark a little bit, but it's a pilot.
Yes.
And just matching them. And I think the most important part was at the onset, kind of drafting a, hey, are you okay working with Jim? Here's Jim's qualifications. Here's why I think you'd be a good match with Jim. And let me know if you have any pushback or if you're looking for something more. And just having that communication back and forth really helped me match a lot of these fantastic women and the mentors that volunteered.
That's awesome. We've got a question from Ginger L in the YouTube chat, who I know I've seen in the Discord already over there. Says, mention some of the mentors. Mikha, you should be proud of that. Sounds like you got some big names.
Yeah. So Victoria Lipschitz, Jim Reed, Juan Liu, some people that I've talked to recently at the Poker Go NFT that are interested. I won't share their names because they haven't volunteered yet. Those are like some of the bigger names that myself, obviously.
Obviously. That's great. That's cool.
But I don't know that I could rip off every single mentor's name, but like every single one of them is just as equal. So like if I didn't mention you, I still love you and you're great, and thank you for everything.
We've got a question here from Craig Savage. Mikha, first of all, hello, Craig. Nice to see you again. Mikha, what makes for a good mentor? So are there particular qualities or characteristics that make for a good mentor in your mind? Or is it sort of like tied to the individual that they're mentoring?
I think you need to be hungry to want to help somebody else grow. You can't do it selfishly. You need to also set aside your ego that you don't know everything and that you're willing to look for support elsewhere. And I think just like sharing as much as you can. Don't, like in poker, there's a lot of times people hold their cards to their chest, right? Like they feel like if I share this information, it's going to get out there and it's no longer my edge. Well, I don't believe in that. I believe that there's enough room in poker for all the people that are looking to learn and educate themselves to be able to and still be profitable and make money.
Yeah, I think so too. That's great. And it is, like I say, it's such a valuable way. And also, if you're anything like me, if you're out there and you're listening to the show and you're considering, getting in touch with Mikha and enrolling in the mentorship program, either as a mentor or as a mentee, we do coaching through the Wrecking Crew here for a lot of our members at Rec Poker. And I'm always amazed at how much I learn just by coaching and teaching and, reinforcing the notions well enough to myself that I can describe them to somebody else. Like you talk about being unselfish, but it can really it can be very rewarding as well in almost a selfish way to take this kind of role. So I think more people should do it. Kudos to you for giving it a try.
Thank you. And honestly, like being a professional poker player can be really lonely, and you don't get a lot of reinforcement that what you're doing is correct, especially if the results aren't showing up with the process that you're trying to implement. But by being a mentor, you actually get to share the success of your mentees that you're working with and feel like accomplishment where you might not get that too much when you're a professional poker player.
Yep, I like that. There's some great comments here in the YouTube chat. I'm just going to highlight a few of these. Franklin, that's Bob. That's my buddy Bob Franklin. Craig makes a good mentor. I can say that for sure. Alistair Waters says, mentorship can help highlight areas of growth for yourself and consolidate what you know. I think that is a good point. And you mentioned that as well, Mikha. Like, it's hard for us to know the areas that we need help on because we're kind of so close to it. It's hard to sort of see some of our leaks, but it can actually be very obvious to outside players. Oh, you're killing it. Like, stop doing this thing. So getting that kind of objective view is really handy. And Craig Savage in there saying, when one teaches to learn. Yeah, fantastic expression. I love that, Craig. So you were saying sort of poker's a lonely game, but you have found your crew at 100K, right? Tell us a little bit about that fantastic organization. I mean, we've had Rob on the show. We've had Caitlin and Justin on the show over the last little while. We go way back with 100K. It's a fantastic organization, and they have a lot of cool people over there getting involved. But what's your experience been like with them?
Yeah, and I'll step back because I found my crew through a group Discord Rob actually started probably years ago. And we studied every day for 2 years and helped build each other up. Like the talent in this group is pretty incredible. Like past actors who share their advice on how to act at a poker table, confidence, discipline, network guru, just keeping it real with each other. But one of those members in that study group, Ginger, who's wonderful, she went to Rob and she's like, I have the best person for you. And we started a communication or a conversation from there. And he got me on to Team 100K. And how I like to think about Team 100K is it's like the grit of poker. We're all trying really hard and we all are so hungry to better ourselves. We want to make money, but it's more about the process and what we're going through and sharing that together than doing it alone. And it's a really great community that just lifts you up. And there's been multiple moments where, I've questioned myself and I've seen other people question themselves. And it's been that community that just lifts you up to want to be the best version of yourself.
That's great. Well, it certainly seems like a really fun group. It's very encouraging of each other. Seems like a very positive place. And I like the goal that you guys have. So there's several Team 100K pros like yourself that are out there making a living at it. And so Team 100K kind of has this group of people that are cheering you on, that are sharing in the learning experience with you. I know you guys have a lot of popular, like the Discord channel. It's very engaged. It's a very engaged group.
Yes. One good memory I have from that group is I had a really deep run on ACR and I was sharing that deep run, just streaming it with that group. And I'm in my pajamas. There's like no judgment. I'm like doing yoga in the back. And I remember Craig being like, that's why she's going to be the best. Like, just like when you need the support the most, that's when this group shows up. And then after the fact, I ended up winning it. But what I really like, and this is what I suggest for everybody, like whether or not you're part of this group, is after you're done with every session, even if it's non-poker related, maybe you're doing a project at work, ask yourself what you could have done better. And because if you take away the things that you can't control, so you might have got a bad beat, but you can't control that. But control what you can control and try to identify 3 things maybe that you can work on to better yourself. That will help you have more hope and control of your game. But then in addition, because I think a lot of people do that, name 2 to 3 things as well that you did really, really well. Because it's so easy for us to forget the things we did well and only focus on our opportunity areas. But what happens is you go into that next session and you forget all the things you did well and you don't bring it with you. So that's my suggestion. And we do that in 100K. So after a session, we cut it straight and we talk about all of the opportunity areas and strengths that we saw.
That's awesome. We got a comment from Mike Day in the YouTube chat. It says, Team 100K has really helped me improve in all aspects of the game of poker. I mean, yeah, you can't argue with that. And Bob's back in there talking about the Discord engagements. It really seems like a fantastic group. And so we'll put the link to Pocket Queens in the show notes, and we'll put the link to 100K in the show notes as well. So if folks are intrigued by either of these organizations, they can go and find out more about them in the show notes here. So let's talk a little.
I'm not a shill. Like I don't get paid by Pocket Queens or 100K. Maybe paid in love. That might be something. But I don't suggest things to people if I don't truly believe it, and that's where the heart comes from.
I love it. I can tell. So that's fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about that journey of kind of getting better as a player. And a lot of our listeners are recreational players, but that doesn't mean that they're not serious amateurs. That doesn't mean that they're not excellent players. It just means that they have a day job, and poker isn't a career for them. That's kind of how we define a recreational poker player. They play for fun, but it's more fun when you win. So, we game select well, we study together, we want to win. What what was it like? So there must have been this period before you decided to go pro where you were enjoying poker, you were a serious amateur. How did you decide, okay, it's time?
I was 12 years old, and actually in 2017, I started to really pick up poker a lot more, just recreationally. And by a lot more, I went to my local casino maybe once a month. I saved up my $300 buy-in, and I'd go once a month on a Sunday and try to win. And it was December 31st, I think 2016. And I remember telling my work team, we were talking about New Year's resolutions, and I said, I want to make $10,000 in poker in 2017. And that was absurd for me at the time. And January 1st was that Sunday. Don't look up the date because it might not have been the day. But I went the next day and I came in first in the tournament and I made like $9,899. And I'm like, wow, I should have set my goals bigger. And then kind of from that point was like, maybe I'll take this more seriously. So 2019 came around. I was making really good money with my job. I really loved my job, but I was going every single weekend, traveling to Pittsburgh. The Heartland Poker Tour was traveling, the MSPT. So I would go to all those stops on my weekends. And I kind of was just getting crushed. Like I wasn't any good. I didn't even know what the word GTO meant. But I just knew like I could hang with these people. And then at the end of that like spring poker training that I was at the Borgata, and it was a $400 2 mil guarantee. And I just ran so well. I ended up getting 7th of like 2,200 people. And it was enough to like make me really step back and be like, oh, like this is the bankroll I would need, to quit my job in 2020 and really take this seriously. And then 2020 rolled around and I was way too scared to leave my job. So I kind of just put it on hold. I didn't know about really online poker at the time, and live poker was dead in 2020. And I worked for about 2 more years, but during that time, I had really serious conversations with my partner about what does me becoming a professional poker player look like? What does support mean? How do I budget enough to make this a reality? And by taking those steps, creating a cost benefit analysis, like really planning out all the things that I could, made me able to in 2022 be able to give myself a 2-year sabbatical and be able to see if I loved poker as much as I thought I did, and try the dream out. Right? Like the last thing I want to do is die without ever trying to figure out if I loved it as much as I did.
Damn right. Good for you. That's awesome. I think, we do this little segment at the end of the episode, and we talk about sort of like our guests' regrets or things they might do differently. Often the answer that they give is, I just wish I'd taken my shot earlier. I wish I'd spent less of my life doing what I thought I was like supposed to be doing, and more of my life just doing this thing that I love. I wish I had just had the courage of my convictions and taken a shot. So it sounds like are you happy with the outcome? Are you a happy poker pro, or are things going the way that you'd like them to go?
I've never been happier. But it's a little biased or a little jaded because like I'm just, I think, intrinsically a happy individual. And sure. You put me in a situation and I'm going to try to make the best of it. And I think that's something you need as a professional poker player, because there's a lot of negatives in this world and it's really easy to see the shit. And it's not so easy to see the roses. So you have to be the type of person, in my opinion, that sees the roses in the pile of poop. Yeah.
I think you're right. And you kind of choose what, like, I don't know. How do I say this? Some people like they have a bad day because they like decided they were going to have a bad day that morning, and saw the worst in everything that happened that day. And it's not like we have perfect control over that thing, but I do think a positive perspective makes a big difference. And however bad a day any of us are having, trust me, if you're watching this show, if you're listening to this show at home, you're doing fine. There are
For
a lot of
sure.
people out there that have bigger problems than we do.
For
But
sure.
that's great.
I'm a firm believer that this life doesn't control you. If you are willing to take the steps and be in uncomfortable situations, then you actually can control the life that you're living. And I think we're get so busy in everything we're doing that we lose track of that. And then by the time we know it, 5 years has gone by and we're just, rolling, floating around. So I think if you're really serious and it's something you've ever dreamed about, take a day, just question yourself, like ask yourself, answer honestly, and see where that leads you.
Yep, I love that. I think we have more control over our lives than a lot of people think, and I think people just end up letting the universe decide what's going to happen to them by happenstance. We kind of take the path of least resistance a lot, but like as you say, if you can just fight up current a little bit and make yourself uncomfortable, sometimes some discomfort is worth the great reward on the other side of it. But you have to pay the price for it. And that's not something we're all necessarily hardwired to do. Let's talk about that a little bit. So discipline, studying, becoming a better poker player. There's a lot we could talk about on that front. There was a question earlier in the YouTube chat here. This is from Mike Day. What's the process that you go through when you have a difficult decision in game? So do you have like a mental checklist to make sure that you're sort of like hitting all the relevant factors?
I wish I could say I did. I've seen like a really cool checklist. I think Phil Galifon put it on Twitter a long time ago, and it was like 16 questions I asked myself after every hand or every moment, and it's great, right? Like that's ideal, but let's be real here. It doesn't always work like that when you're in the moment.
Yes.
So what I do is I rely on past patterns that I've seen. I'm a huge advocate that repetition and study really pay off. You're creating a baseline when you study and you don't follow it fully, right? Because you're never going to be in the same situation likely in the future. So if you're in a tough situation, you really have to trust, I'm going to call it intuition, but it's really relying on that past work that you've done and the patterns that are going to be just submerged in your unconscious mind. So if you're putting in the work, so what did the work look like for me? I still do to this day study about 2 to 3 hours every single day on the weekdays. A lot of that is group study, and that's reviewing final tables, that's GTO wizard drills, that's training content that's out there. And then I play. So whatever I'm studying, I try to enact what I'm studying that week into my play that week, so I can make sure that I'm actually like reinforcing what I'm learning. Actually, at the beginning of my studying about 2 years ago, I really struggled with that. I would just study, and never actually implement. And I always wonder, like, why is my graph going down? And it's because, when you're learning a lot of new stuff and you try to implement a little bit, you're going to fail, right? Like it's not going to work right away. You have to keep honing until it works with your style. But back to Mike's question. So I'm in that moment in a tough situation. The first thing I do is I kind of play like a tape in my brain. I rewind the footage of the hand and I remember what happened pre-flop. What was the timing of their plays pre-flop? Is there anything that tells me? What were the bet sizings? What is the dynamic of the table? What stage of the tournament is it? So those main questions are really going to fuel a lot of my future decisions.
Right on. I see Lorianne Persinger, another 100K member and previous guest of the show, is in the YouTube chat. Hi, Lorianne. I hope you're doing well down there in Vegas. She asks, what does your summer schedule look like, Mikha? What do you have all lined up for these beautiful warm months that we get coming up?
It's a little ambitious. I created a sponsorship package, so I am selling some of my action, which I've sold a really good chunk of it. So that allows me to take bigger shots.
Yes.
And through my mentorship, we've talked through the benefits of buying into bigger buy-in events that have smaller field sizes because it's going to cut a lot of the variance. So The example I love to use is I love the Colossus and Gladiator. Like, what a fun time both of those games are. If you're a recreational player and you could play those games, like, I'm envious. And not that I won't, but I'm probably going to cut out a lot of those because the point is I'm trying to make a living on this. And if I make it to day 3 of, say, the Gladiator, like late in day 2, that might only be $900 or $1,000 versus if I'm taking the opportunity cost of my time and maybe playing get a satellite to that might take 3 hours into a 5K, and then I min cash a 5K. That's 10 hours of work, $10,000 potentially versus 2 days of work for $900. So a lot of my schedule is going to revolve around those bigger buy-ins, and really just taking a good shot into myself and the skills that I've been honing.
Yeah, the large field variance, I'm not sure people appreciate how much harder that makes it statistically just to get to a big payday. It's true that in the large field, the top prizes are bigger because there's more people paying into the prize pool. But boy, you have to win a lot of flips. It's not, you don't have quite as much control as you do in the small field tournaments. But in the small field tournament, and I know people are thinking this at home, in the small field tournaments of the larger buy-ins, you're playing against a tougher field of competitors. So how does that change how you approach the game? Is it just that you're going to get into, I mean, ultimately you're only playing against the other 8 players at your table. So sure. if the other tables, people are busting there just like they would be no matter how many tables they had out there, a small field tournament's still better. It's going to be harder playing against better players though, no?
Sure. Yeah. And table selection is a huge part that we have no control over. But I'm pretty sure there are bad players at all buy-in levels from what I've been told. Point. Like there are CEOs with that think $5,000 is pocket change and they're looking to play with elite players. And then there's Daniel Weinman, who won the WSOP main event last year, who's playing $400 events at the WSOPs around the country. So I think you might get a bigger percent of better players in those populations, but I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised that you actually can still compete at that level.
I love that. That's a great way of looking at it. And it's true in my experience as well. There's definitely, I'll just say it. There's bad players at every stake level. It's true. And there's nothing wrong with being a bad player. If it's a hobby of yours and you want to go play with the best and you've got the money for it, I mean, go do it. There are bad sailors out there that own yachts too, and what are you gonna do? It's just spend your money, have fun, right? It's just I like this a lot better because we get to play against them and hopefully get some of that yacht money for ourselves. Come on, let's see. So I like your approach, and getting staking is a big part of that, as you were saying, because it just means that you can shoot higher, right? Playing some of those bigger events that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. How do you decide how much of yourself to sell off as action and how much to hold yourself when you're in these larger buy-in tournaments? This has come up in our own conversations. Again, go to rec.poker/staking and support your favorite Rec and Crew member. But how do you decide? How do you decide like how much action to sell of yourself?
It really depends on your situation, right? So I'm pretty sure a lot of people listening have probably seen Jonathan Little's bankroll management or the billion other bankroll managements that are out there. And if it's something that you're trying, this is going to be your main source of income and you want it to continue to be your main source of income, I advise to do that. So if you can only afford, 20% of yourself and keep, 80% of your bankroll at home when you go to the WSOP, that's what you do. And if you are just playing for fun and you've saved up $5,000 in your fund money because this is what you do as a hobby, then spend the whole $5,000. So I think it's very subjective depending on who you are and what your goals are with poker.
I've heard that too. That makes sense. I've got a comment or a question from Tim Schifferly. Tim wants to know, what do you do for fun when you aren't playing poker?
I do a lot of fun things. I used a lathe for the first time 2 weeks
Oh,
ago with Tyler, and
cool.
I wish I had it on me, but I made a pen. But
Wow.
I am a part of a Top Golf league that I go to typically on Monday nights. Tim is
Oh.
actually at Top Golf right now, probably trying to make me feel bad.
Well, thanks for taking this time with us. That's all right. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
But yeah, so I travel a lot. I eat good food. I spend time with my family, and I do a lot of things. Like I think that's actually helped me identify poker as my dream. I think a lot of
Mm,
people don't know what their dreams are, but I tried everything I could try. Like even in high school, every single sport that was available to me, I played. I was a cheerleader, I was a wrestler. I played volleyball, I ran track. And I did that because I wanted to find out what brought me the most happiness. And poker was that one consistent thread throughout my whole entire life that just kept coming back. It was cyclical. And that's kind of when I knew, like, if that's the thing that's going to be consistent, then I should go for it and give it my best.
that's awesome. Yeah, I worked a ton of jobs when I was younger, as a
Mm,
teenager through
yeah.
university. Um, and I'm really glad I did. I didn't really find anything that I particularly enjoyed, but I found a bunch of stuff that I knew I did not want to do. And
Same.
that definitely helps too. So, but yeah, good for you, because I think a lot of players, they love poker, they play recreationally, they go pro, and now they've kind of taken the thing that they did for fun and
Mm.
made it their work, and they feel that void. But it seems like you've been doing a good job of keeping some other fun things in your heart. So that's great, because I think it's important to have that. Do
Yeah,
you?
and year one, I'll be honest, I didn't. I had some really tough conversations with
Mhm.
my partner about balance, and it was really difficult because I felt a lot of anxiety of
Mm,
not failing at poker. So I felt like if I crammed every second of my life into poker and getting better and building a network, XYZ, then I would be successful. But I found that that led actually to me having manic episodes, to it
mm,
leading to burnout, to me never winning at that point in time. And my relationship starting to kind of teeter totter because I wasn't prioritizing that. So I wish I could say that that's how it was all the time, but I learned through trial and error and support through him, my friends, and their patience. And that is a really healthy place that I'm at now, and it's great. That's part of the reason why I love what I'm doing.
yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about some other lessons that you've learned over the course of the last few years. And speaking strictly about like poker strategy now at this point, what
Sure.
are some things that you're doing differently now than you used to, or things that you used to do that you're no longer doing, that make you a better poker player?
One is what I'm doing right now. Um, WSOP is in 2 weeks. I am not going to learn. I know. I, I'm not going to learn anything new between now and two
Right,
weeks. Before,
right.
I used to cram as much as possible, consume new information. But now I'm just going to trust that the work I've already been doing has been good enough. And what I'm actually going to start doing twice a day is go through GTO wizard drills or any other software I have and just hone the things I already know, just to make sure that when I'm 12 hours into the day, I can rely on my intuition even more when everybody else starts
Hmm.
getting tired. So
Mhm.
that's number one. Don't cram before an event. Instead, hone. It kind of lends itself to number two of a lot of people are going to give you advice. And there are a lot of, informational videos out there. Be very careful. You could listen to their advice, but be very careful about who you actually take and implement it from. I fell into this at the onset. You're going to hear play online, play 10 tables at a time, be obsessive, give yourself some balance. I took advice from somebody who told me a lot of that. But after, 6 months of trying to figure out what worked for me, I questioned who was giving me that advice. And I thought about it. I'm like, that person gains energy from a place completely different from me. I'm an extrovert, right? Like, this person's an introvert. They love playing online for 12 hours a day, and they're really good at it because of the things they're doing. So try to find people who you can relate with, who you share similar energies with when you're trying to hone your strengths. But you also want those people who are the inverse of you, who have those differing perspectives, because you don't want to just be in an echo chamber of just your own ideas or people who are like-minded to you. So it is a balance, but know when to apply and not to apply, I think, really comes down to just knowing yourself.
Great advice. We're going to take a few more questions, and then we'll wrap up the show with our stake, study, stack, and closing the action. But I'm just going to throw out to our YouTube chatters. So you've got some real fans here in the YouTube. I'm happy to report, Mikha, some new names to Rec Poker here. But Alistair, Grace, Lorianne, Craig, Nicole, Mike, Anthony, Tim, Bob, a different Mike. If any of you guys, Ginger, have any more questions for Mikha, get them in there quick. We'll be wrapping up the interview portion pretty soon. And then, of course, also YouTube chatters, stick around after the interview. We'll be giving away a prize, and I think you'll want to be around for that fun little raffle we do. And so on the other side of that, so you're playing in a lot of live events, and you're playing in quite a variety of buy-ins, it sounds like, as well. So you're playing against a wide variety of player types. So what do you do when you sit down at a table? You don't know any of the players. You have to start making assumptions about players or about their playing style or their ranges. Most of our listeners are recreational players. What are some of the signs that less experienced players or recreational players kind of give off that indicate that they're not as studied as some of the other players there? Like, if we have to sort of work on playing a little defense every once in a while, what is it that we're doing that telegraphs to pros like you, oh, these are folks that don't do this every day?
Yeah, I am a really big advocate of The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And what he talks about is prepare, prepare, prepare. So study, study, study. And when you finally show up on the battlefield, observe. Keep your strengths and weaknesses to yourself, but understand your opponent's strengths and weaknesses and just watch, right? So what I see a lot of players doing, and sometimes my ego gets the best of me too, is they just come right off the bat. Level one, they're 3-betting relentlessly because they're trying to prove something to themselves, probably, or to the table, that they are the best person there. So I think that's a really big sign, especially when you're over 100 big blinds and you're actually supposed to tighten your range and not be involved in as many pots. So watching who those folks are, the folks that are very ego driven, those are going to be the people that have probably the biggest opportunities for you to make the most money. So what I like to do is put myself in position to those players. So whether or not they open and I 3-bet them, getting it isolated to be a heads up, because you want to put yourself in a position that makes easy decisions for yourself and tough decisions for your opponent. So if you put them in an out of position spot, they don't know really how to play those positions. So that's number one. Number two is bet sizing and bet frequency. That comes with time over studying. You're going to start to see what the baseline of those are if you start doing drills and utilizing solvers. And I don't think it's good for you to just regurgitate the solvers. And I will say this probably for the rest of my life, but know what the baseline is, because you'll be able to identify your opponent's weaknesses if you realize that they have no idea where the baseline is. And you can start to get a really big edge by seeing that. And you'll hear comments by people being like, why did you do that? Like, they'll be very transparent about what they don't know and what they do know. So keep an eye on that if you have studied particular parts, even with opening ranges, which I know a lot of folks who study are pretty competent at. You'll see people opening wild things from the cutoff, and their range might be the exact same from under the gun. Keep an eye on that. You'll know that you have an edge versus them pre-flop.
And what about on your side of things? What are some of the kind of breakthrough epiphany moments that you've had over the last few years as a pro that, you on the other side of it, you've been like, oh, I get it now, right? This thing clicked with me. How can you describe some of those concepts or moments to our audience?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot, and I don't have a one size fit all answer for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the breakthrough moments was knowing why you're gonna bet in any particular situation.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding, am I betting for value? Am I betting as a bluff? And when you answer that question, understanding, are you getting better to fold, or are you getting worse to call off your bet, are probably two of the most important questions that have come into my game that have really helped elevate my skills.
I love that one. That one rings true to me as well. I feel like that's a big people just bet. And they like, oh, I have a strong hand, I'm gonna bet. Or I don't think he has it, I'm gonna bluff. So that like value targeting and bluff targeting, I want to reinforce that to our audience. Like, know why you're making this bet. Is it to get a better hand to fold or a worse hand to call? And then let that guide your sizing. Great answer. That's like such an important thing. We got another question from Mike Day here. How do you wind down after a session?
I like long walks on the beach and in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's right. Those Cleveland beaches. Yeah, there's you've got a waterfront there.
We do.
But we get amped up over a session, and especially if you're a tournament player, there's only two ways that tournament ends: you win the whole damn thing, or you lose. And sometimes when you lose, you make some money losing, but like it's a bittersweet experience. I don't need to tell you. Even coming in second place is like, so emotions are high. The brain is racing. I think a lot of people like have trouble going to sleep afterwards, even if they have to get up for a day two the next morning or something like that. Do you have like a routine, or you mentioned like yoga? Is that part of it, or do you like what has worked for you when it's like, okay, got to turn this off and sort of move on?
Yeah, it's interesting. I am kind of at this stage, and I think online poker has really helped me see the repetition and see the worst of the worst scenarios that I'm kind of, what is the term, where you're just not fazed by it anymore. And I kind of just treat it like if I had a day job and I went home and I'm not thinking about it anymore. When I am in those moments, right? Like, so I'm playing the main event this summer. When I busted in second place, I'm gonna lose some sleep over it. And some things that I'm probably gonna look to is I really like the Mind Valley app. Vaishon, he has really good meditation to help you refocus on your goals and what's the most important. Why are you even doing this in the first place? Or whatever works for you. So getting some really good sleep after is actually one of the most important things for you and your poker longevity, especially going into the summer. Sleep is probably, people just think like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. But if you want to bring the best version of yourself, try to get 8 hours of sleep. Don't go out clubbing at night. Don't, I don't know what other things people do.
All those life leaks that people do. Yeah, totally.
Just prioritize your health. I guess is the most important thing. But yeah, I like reading fiction. I like walking. I'll have a beer once in a while and enjoy that. And just kind of take your brain off of it as much as possible.
Good advice. We've got a question from Neil Jaworski. Wants to know if you play cash as well as tournaments, or just I know you're a professional tournament player, but do you play cash as well?
I'm learning how to play cash. I wouldn't say I've actually put myself in too many cash situations, but it is on the horizon.
Nice. Okay. And when you say like you're learning cash, what are some of the sort of like the key or just big picture differences in how you might approach a cash study versus tournament play?
Ask me in a year.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. You did say you were starting it, so yes. When we talk next summer, you can let us know. All right. Well, folks, I think yes, that's right. That is the end of the interview portion of the show. So, folks in the YouTube chat, stick around. We're gonna just do a couple more segments here, and then we'll give away that fantastic prize. So we are going to play Stake, Study, Stack. I have been taking notes with folks in the YouTube chat, and we've got a few names here. So Stake, Study, Stack, if you don't know it, is sort of like a Kiss, Marry, Kill, a game we all might have played when we were younger. I'm going to give you 3 names. You have to choose one to stake in a poker tournament or cash game, one to study with, and one to stack at the tables and just take all their darn chips and break their heart right in front of you. So the 3 names that we've selected this week are Rob Gardner, Juan Liu, and Lorianne Persinger. Who are you going to stake? Who are you going to study with? And who are you going to stack?
Oh, no.
Yeah, we don't make it easy. We don't make it easy.
Oh, all right. I am going to stake Juan. I'm so sorry. I'm going to stack Rob just because I do it on global now. And I would study with Lorianne. I think she has a really different perspective than me because she's a fully live player and she plays Resorts World Daily and crushes them. And I think I could learn a lot from her player tendencies that she's really picked up over the years.
All right, great choices. And, they all know you, so they know where to find you if they want to take it up with you outside, out in the hallway.
I might be a fired team pro now.
That's right. All right, so we're going to do our speed round. We call this closing the action. So I'm just going to fire a bunch of questions at you. And Mikha, what we're mostly looking for are just honest responses, obviously, but just short, quick ones that come to you immediately top of mind. And if you want to pass, just say pass, and we'll move on to the next question. We're not going to make anyone uncomfortable here. But without further ado, let's get started. All right, Mikha, we're going to start off with an easy question. What is your favorite poker hand?
Aces.
Good answer. Is poker a gamble or a skill game?
Both.
What is your biggest poker pet peeve?
Ego.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Never seen it.
Oh man, you and oh god, someone else hadn't seen it recently. Who was it? I'm losing my mind now. Okay, we'll get back to that later. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
What about an open face sandwich? Is an open face sandwich a sandwich?
If the word sandwich is in it, it's a sandwich.
Hard to go wrong with that, right? Oh, it's Lexi Gavin. That's who also hadn't watched Die Hard. There might be a Vegas December-based Die Hard movie watching event happening. Stay tuned. I think Dan Lowry and Lexi Gavin might be going down for that one. Okay. Should vacations be lazy or busy?
Adventurous.
Is a royal flush a straight flush?
Yes.
Is a straight flush a flush?
Yes.
Is a straight flush a straight?
Yes.
All right, we're getting to the bottom of a whole bunch of great stuff here. What's your favorite brick and mortar poker venue?
Win.
And what's one thing you're afraid of?
Not figuring out what my purpose is in this life.
Oh, I like that. There's a yellow light coming up. Quick, slow down or speed up.
Hit the gas.
Who's your poker nemesis?
Anybody who slow rolls.
Good one. And what's one thing that you cannot live without?
Love.
Okay, great answer. Nice speed round. So the last question is one we ask all our guests. So you've led this rich life. You've been a poker pro. You're on top of the world. But someone comes up to you with a gun to your head and says, Mikha Richards, you have to go back into your life and choose one thing to do differently. What's the one thing you would go back and do differently in your life?
I would have learned how to say no sooner in life. I think this is something a lot of women face, where our value comes from the things that we contribute back to society. And I think I would have had a lot less regret and a lot less guilt, and a lot just happier moments in life if I had learned to say no sooner.
Great answer and a good lesson for everybody out there. Mikha, you and I know from our conversations, we're both like pleasers and helpers, and we want to make people happy and like help them. But you're only one person, right? And you can't light yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. So saying no is a powerful. It's true, right? So
yeah.
And if you want to be able to help, the people that are closest to you, you need to keep yourself available to do that. So that's a fantastic answer. I applaud that. All right, let me do some quick math here. We got carry the 7, 924 points. Pretty good score. And Mikha is in the 900 club. Way to go, Mikha. Fantastic result in closing the action. All right. Well, folks, if you want to start typing the words food bank into the chat there, that's all you need to do to enter our prize. We're going to do a raffle in just a few minutes to give away a fantastic prize. And the reason we do this is because a lot of people are struggling these days. It's a tough world out there, and it's not, it's getting tougher. So some people that you might not expect could be having a little trouble putting food on the table, feeding a loved one, feeding a child. We try and remove the stigma from the word rec here at Rec Poker, and we're also trying to remove the stigma from folks that need to visit a food bank and just get some help putting food on the table. So it's a great way to make the world a better place. It's a great way to do a lot with a little in your own backyard. So I'd encourage folks, if you just pull out your smartphone, Google food banks near me, you'll find some organizations that could benefit from a few bucks out of your pocket, a few hours out of your week volunteering, or a few non-perishable food items from your pantry. And the way we're just going to raise some awareness here on the show, just type the words food bank into the YouTube chat, and we'll give away a fantastic prize as soon as we get to the end of the show here. Mikha, we're going to make sure that we link to 100K and the Poker Queens program in the show notes here. But if folks want to reach out to you and say, hey, thanks for being on the Rec Poker podcast, or thanks for that great advice, you changed my life, what's the best way for them to do that? Are you a Twitter? Are you a Facebook person? Instagram? What are your socials, and where can people find you?
Yeah, I was just about to say, Kim just beat me to it. Pocket Queens.
What did I say?
Poker, but there is a Poker Queens too. But
oh no, it is Pocket Queens. I'm sorry. Thank you for that clarification.
Well, if you're a woman and you love poker, you can see me at Pocket Queens. So I'm very active in the Discord. I'm also on Twitter, but not very active in Instagram. But I really, with the whole food bank stuff you're talking about, it just reminded me, if you don't know Caitlin Arnwine, and I know she's been on here and so is Justin, but she is one of the bravest individuals that I know, and she's really out there doing the groundwork for the homeless community, which I think really correlates with your food bank efforts. So like check her out. She has a lot of great tips on if you're a man and you want to support women in poker, how to do that. So I just wanted to give her a little plug. And then also, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. And thank you to everybody that showed up to support me. I've had people supporting me over the past 2 years, and without them, mom, dad, all my parent-in-laws, they've just been incredible. So thank you so much to everybody out there.
That's awesome. Well, Mikha, you're a pleasure to have on the show. I'm glad we got a chance to connect again. And I hope our paths continue to cross, and that we get a chance to catch up again this summer down in Vegas, hopefully. So without further ado, thank you again for coming on the show, and keep doing the fantastic work that you're doing. Hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, Jim. Peace out.
All right. Well, that was Mikha Richards, everybody. Looking forward to seeing what the Rec Poker Nation has to say about Mikha. She's been a pleasure to talk with over the last little while. Sounds like she's making some great friends over there at Pocket Queens and at 100K Studios. So congratulations to both of those organizations for snapping her up. Keep typing the words food bank in, folks. We're just going to go over some recent home game results with the one and only John Somsky, and then we'll give away a prize and get the heck out of here. John, what's been happening lately in the free Play Money Home Game Club that people can join by going to rec.poker/home game and compete for free, but win real prizes? Wait, can that all be true? John, is that all true?
That's absolutely true.
Wow.
And on May 13th, we had our Tournament of Champions for players who won a tournament in April. And Graphic 16, Roger Schutte, got his first TOC victory for the year, his second TOC victory lifetime. There are not very many
Wow.
people who have won more than one.
I'm glad it's Roger. Roger's such a gem of a guy. That's awesome. Way to go, Roger.
Then Jay Sedum, Jeff S. got his 4th nightly victory for the year. East Coast Spitter, Ben Enslow got his 1st nightly victory for the year. LL
Nice.
Tahoe got his or her 3rd nightly victory for the year. Digging 8 Graves got his or her 1st daily mixed victory. Now, this event was accidentally no limit Omaha 8 or better, which is not a game that should ever be played. It has been changed, and for the following weeks, it will be limit Omaha 8 or better.
That's why it's the practice mixed game, because we're practicing too. That does sound like a very volatile game.
Yeah, I mean, I have played it, and it is legitimate to play at pot limit, but that even PLO 8 is known in some circles as the devil's game, and
Right.
Rightfully so. Then we have Hiker 10 got his or her 1st international victory for the year. Larson's opening, George Borden got his 3rd
Nice.
international victory for the year. And Duck and Run 99, Michael Savage won the LPP event, so he can contact info@rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker.
That's right. Michael Savage, that longtime member here, he and I emailed about setting up some kind of trip down to Texas. We just have not been able to get this trip to Texas organized. It's on the list, though, Michael. Don't give up hope. We would love to come down and visit some of your fantastic card rooms one of these days. We just got to make the magic happen here somehow. So don't give up. We would love to do that one of these days soon. All right. Thank you, John, for all you do running our home game club. It was, but if we've got some new members here in the YouTube chat, I'll just say when John agreed to start running our home game club, we had 2 home games a month. and we were up to 10 or 11 a week or something like that until pretty recently. So he does a lot. If you see this man, John Somsky, in the wild, make sure you put a cold beverage in his hand because he has deserved it. All right, well, why don't we give away a prize? So here's how it works, gang. If you are not a Rec Poker Premium member, you are eligible to you'll become one. We'll send you a free month of premium membership at Rec Poker, which I think you'll really enjoy. If you're already a Rec Poker Premium member, then congratulations, you've unlocked this whole new tier of prizes you can win on the podcast tonight. It's basically a month at one of our learning partners. We have this fantastic program where other sites like Learn Pro Poker, Solve for Why, PokerCoaching.com, Jacka Coaching, Red Chip, the Poker Forge, and we actually have a new partner coming up in June that I'm not going to blow by. It's not public information yet, but we have a new learning partner, which I'm really excited about. And you can get a free month at any of those organizations because they also want to help support the fight against food insecurity. And so some great organizations. And I think you mentioned, John, the Sunday winner of our home game club. Not only do you get to win one of these fancy Rec Poker pins, but if you win on Sunday, compliments of Ryan LaPlante, you also win a whole free month at Learn Pro Poker. So congratulations to our winners. Send that email to info@rec.poker. Okay, so I'm just going to run through the names. We've got some cool new folks in the YouTube chat. The order I see them in is Mike, As9 Bovine, welcome back. Joe Rafter, nice to see you, Joe. Mike, Stu, Tyler, Lorianne, Alistair, Joe, Ron, that's 10, and then Trevor is 11. Okay, so I'm a big nerd. I have a 12-sided die here. So we'll roll the 12-sided die. If we get a 12, I will make a donation to a local food bank. And if we roll a 1 through an 11, then that's who's going to win the prize. So let's see who the winner is going to be this week. It's an 11. Wow, it's pretty close. Woo! I just snuck in under the wire there. This one's going to Trevor Vio. So congratulations, Trevor. Send an email to info@rec.poker and tell them that you won the food bank raffle on the Rec Poker podcast, and you will be awarded your fantastic prize. So thank you for contributing. And thanks to everyone here in the YouTube chat for swinging by and having some fun with us here on the Rec Poker podcast. I have to thank again our sponsors, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. They're fantastic, and we couldn't do what we do without them. I want to thank Mikha Richards, of course, for being such a fantastic guest all the great people at Pocket Queens and 100K Studios for what they're doing to make the poker world better. Kim Kilroy, John Somsky, all the YouTube chatters, and of course, you, the audience at home. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the Rec Poker Podcast. Good night, everybody.